Airports are places of constant motion, rolling suitcases, echoing announcements, hurried footsteps, and the hum of thousands of people going somewhere else. But on this particular Tuesday morning, the busy rhythm of Terminal 4 was shattered by a single, terrifying event. A highly trained police German shepherd named Rex suddenly broke formation. He lunged at a random gray suitcase on the moving conveyor belt and bit into it with a force that made passengers scream. Officers froze. Travelers gasped. No one understood what had triggered the dog's violent reaction. The suitcase's owner, a nervous-looking man in a trench coat, began insisting there was a mistake. But Rex, the most trusted detection dog on the force, refused to let go. At first, the officers thought the dog was confused, maybe tired. But Rex wasn't confused. He wasn't misbehaving. He was warning them. Within seconds, 5 officers surrounded the conveyor belt, shouting commands, trying to pull the German shepherd away. But he wouldn't budge. His teeth remained locked onto the bag as if he knew something terrible was hidden inside. Then, the police dog did something that chilled everyone to the bone. He growled, a deep, guttural sound of pure desperation. He tugged at the luggage like he was trying to rip it apart, his ears pinned back, his entire body trembling with urgency. "Rex, leave it!" his handler shouted. But for the first time in his career, Rex disobeyed a direct order. The owner of the suitcase stood frozen, his face pale, his hands shaking violently. Passengers whispered among themselves, "What is inside that luggage? Is it a bomb? Is it alive?" No one understood what Rex had found, or why he was reacting with such raw, unfiltered panic. When the suitcase was finally opened hours later, everyone expected drugs, maybe explosives, anything illegal. But what the officer discovered next shocked the entire world. Stay with us, because this story will leave you absolutely speechless. But before we unzip this mystery, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a story. And really, I'm curious about our community. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your country's name in the comments below. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Morning sunlight spilled through the massive glass walls of the airport, casting long golden beams across the polished floor. Travelers hurried past each other in a blur of activity. Businessmen on phones, families dragging toddlers, backpackers sleeping on benches. But in the middle of all that chaos, one pair moved with steady, calm purpose. Officer Daniel and his K-9 partner, Rex. Their patrol was routine. Same long hauls, same luggage zones, same security checkpoints. But Daniel never allowed routine to turn into laziness. And Rex? Rex didn't know the meaning of the word lazy. Every sniff was calculated. Every glance was sharp. Every shift of his ears was precise. He was a machine built for detection. "Good boy," Daniel murmured as Rex trotted ahead, his wet nose hovering just inches above the tile floor. "Let's make it a smooth day." Rex's tail swung once in reply, a silent acknowledgement between partners. They continued toward the baggage carousel area, where crowds gathered to wait for arriving luggage. People were laughing, complaining about flight delays, arguing with family members. To them, Rex was just a dog, a working animal. But to Daniel, Rex was the difference between safety and tragedy. The conveyor belt buzzed to life with a mechanical hum. Suitcases began appearing through the rubber flaps, thumping onto the metal track. Rex's head lifted immediately. His nose twitched. Daniel noticed the shift instantly. Not alarm, but interest. "Something catch your attention?" Daniel asked quietly, watching the dog's body language. Rex didn't respond. He simply walked closer to the belt, weaving between passengers, ignoring the hands reaching out to pet him. His focus narrowed. Daniel felt a familiar tingle of anticipation in his gut. Then Rex stopped completely. Daniel froze too. "Easy. What do you smell?" Rex lowered his head toward the moving belt. Suitcase after suitcase rolled by. Black, blue, red. Overpacked, scratched, taped together. But Rex didn't touch a single one. His breathing grew heavier, deeper, more urgent. Daniel stepped closer, his hand hovering near his holster. "Talk to me, partner. What is it?" Rex suddenly inhaled sharply. His ears snapped forward. His muscles tightened under his fur like coiled springs ready to release. A soft rumble vibrated in his chest. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. He had seen this behavior before, right before Rex detected plastic explosives 3 years ago. But this time, this felt different. Stranger, more personal. Rex moved forward inch by inch, shadowing the belt as it rotated. Passengers began noticing the dog's intense posture. The whispers started. People stepped back, pulling their children closer. Then Rex planted his paws firmly on the floor and stared at a single, unassuming gray suitcase approaching slowly on the belt. His body stiffened, his tail dropped, his entire frame locked on target. Daniel swallowed hard. Routine patrol was officially over. Something was wrong, and Rex had sensed it before anyone else. The gray suitcase rolled closer, its wheels clicking softly against the metal slats. To everyone else, it looked ordinary. Worn edges, scuffed corners, a faded baggage tag dangling loosely from the handle. But to Rex, it was as if the bag radiated something invisible, something urgent. "Rex," Daniel whispered, his voice steady but cautious. "What do you see, boy?" Rex didn't blink. He didn't breathe. He didn't move. His entire body had shifted into full alert mode. Shoulders stiff, chest low. Nose pointed directly at the gray suitcase, as if nothing else in the world existed. Daniel's hand tightened instinctively on the leash. The suitcase inched closer, closer, until it was directly in front of them. And then it happened. Rex lunged. Not a warning bark, not a trained sit and stare signal, a full-force leap. Jaws open, teeth flashing. He clamped down onto the suitcase with a violent snap that echoed through the hall. Passengers gasped and stumbled backward. Someone screamed. A coffee cup shattered on the floor. "Whoa! Rex! Rex! Let go!" Daniel shouted, yanking back on the leash with all his strength. But Rex refused. His teeth were sunk deep into the suitcase's padded surface. His claws scraped against the moving conveyor belt as he fought to pull the bag off the track. His muscles strained. His growl echoed across the terminal. "Shut down the belt!" someone yelled. Airport staff scrambled, slamming emergency buttons. The conveyor jolted, then screeched to a halt. Suitcases bumped into each other, forming a messy pile behind Rex. But he didn't care. 3 officers rushed toward Daniel, their expressions twisted in confusion and panic. "What's he doing?" one shouted. "Is it a bomb? Why didn't he give the usual signal?" "I don't know," Daniel snapped, trying to keep Rex from shaking the suitcase like prey. "He's never reacted like this before," Rex growled again. Deep, raw, instinctive. It wasn't fear. It was a warning. Passengers were now filming, whispering, backing away from the luggage zone in a wave of fear. "What's inside that bag?" an elderly man muttered, pulling his wife behind him. Daniel stepped beside Rex, lowering his voice, trying to break through the dog's trance. "Buddy, you need to let go. Come on, talk to me." But Rex ignored him. His jaws tightened, refusing to release even a fraction of an inch. His eyes were wide, pupils sharp, locked on the suitcase with a strange combination of fear and fury. One officer leaned closer, hand on his weapon. "Maybe it's alive. Maybe there's an animal inside." "No," another said. "He doesn't react like this to animals. This is something else." Daniel felt chills crawl across his skin. Rex had never overridden commands like this, never acted out of pure instinct, never shown this level of urgency. Whatever was inside that suitcase, it wasn't just dangerous. It was something Rex recognized, something he couldn't ignore, no matter the cost. The sudden attack had thrown the entire terminal into chaos. Officers surrounded Rex and the suitcase, forming a tight semicircle as passengers continued backing away. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, echoing through the high ceilings of the baggage hall. Officer Ramirez stepped forward first, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Daniel, has your dog ever done this before? This isn't even close to protocol." Daniel shook his head, his breath unsteady. "No, not once. Rex always signals first. He never jumps straight to biting." Officer Carter crouched slightly, squinting at the suitcase still trapped in Rex's jaws. If this was explosives, he'd be sitting, not attacking. If it was narcotics, he'd bark. This doesn't match anything he's trained to detect. "Maybe someone put something biological in there," another officer muttered darkly. "A body part, a sick animal, something that panicked him." Daniel didn't answer. His eyes stayed locked on Rex, watching the dog's trembling muscles, the tension in his legs, the way his body leaned protectively over the suitcase. It was almost as if Rex wasn't attacking the luggage, but shielding everyone from it. "Let's get the bomb squad on the line," Ramirez urged. "Whatever this is, it's not normal." Carter frowned. "But what if moving the suitcase triggers something? Look at him. Rex won't even let us near it." Daniel swallowed hard. His heart thumped painfully against his ribs. "Rex, buddy, you need to release," he whispered. He gave a soft but firm tug on the leash. Nothing. Rex growled deeper, his body lower and even closer to the suitcase, as though anything approaching would meet his teeth. Passengers gasped. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. "This is bad," Carter muttered. "He's defensive. Why would he defend the suitcase?" "That's what scares me," Daniel replied quietly. "It's like he recognizes something inside." A chill passed through the group of officers. Recognition of what? Ramirez stepped aside and radioed headquarters, his voice low but urgent. "We've got a K-9 in a heightened state. Unprecedented behavior. Possible threat. Unknown type." While he spoke, Daniel tried again, kneeling beside Rex. "Come on, boy. Look at me. Tell me what you're sensing." Rex didn't move his head, but his eyes flicked sideways toward Daniel, an unmistakable flash of desperation, not aggression, not anger. Warning. Carter exhaled sharply. "Whatever's inside, it's not just suspicious. It's something your dog is afraid of." Daniel felt his pulse spike. Rex wasn't afraid often, and when he was, it always meant danger was much closer than anyone realized. The conveyor belt groaned to a complete stop, the last few suitcases rattling into stillness. A nervous hush swept over the baggage hall as the flashing red emergency lights clicked on above the belt. Travelers froze mid-step, clutching their bags and children as officers hurried to push the crowd farther back. "Everyone stay behind the line," Officer Carter shouted, waving his arms urgently. "This area is temporarily closed." Passengers stumbled into each other, whispering anxiously. Phones were lifted in trembling hands, recording every second of Rex's unbreakable grip on the gray suitcase. Daniel positioned himself beside Rex, legs braced, one hand steady on the leash. His heartbeat hammered in his ears. "Easy, buddy. Just breathe. We're right here." But Rex's breathing was rough, jagged, almost frantic. His paws dug into the metal slats of the frozen conveyor belt, claws scraping loudly. Even with the belt motionless now, he refused to loosen his bite. Officers formed a perimeter, blocking access from all sides. Their radios crackled with overlapping voices. "Terminal security report. K-9 is unresponsive to commands. Possible hazardous material. Uncategorized threat." A supervisor rushed over, his face tight with alarm. "Why haven't we moved the bag yet?" Daniel pointed at Rex. "Because he won't let us get within 2 feet. He's protecting it. Or warning us away from it. I can't tell which." The supervisor stared at the trembling dog, then at the battered suitcase trapped between his jaws. "This is highly irregular." "You're telling me?" Ramirez muttered. A child somewhere behind the perimeter began to cry. His mother pulled him close, whispering, "It's okay, honey. The doggy is helping people. He's stopping something bad." Rex growled again, deep, vibrating, primal. It wasn't the growl of aggression, it was the growl of urgency, of fear mixed with instinct. Carter leaned closer, studying the seams of the suitcase. What if it's leaking something? Chemical? Biological? Dogs can detect things we can't. Daniel shook his head. If it were chemical, he'd pull back. If it were explosive residue, he'd sit. But he's doing neither. It's like he's trying to keep the suitcase still, Ramirez added quietly, and keep everyone else away. The supervisor stepped back, rubbing his forehead. "We need the bomb squad here, now, and medics on standby. I don't like how unstable this situation feels." Daniel swallowed. He didn't either. The silent conveyor belt, the unmoving crowd, the flashing lights. Everything felt suspended, as if the entire airport was holding its breath, waiting for the moment the truth inside that suitcase finally revealed itself. Rex's growl deepened, vibrating through the metal frame of the conveyor belt. His teeth remained clamped onto the suitcase with an intensity Daniel had never seen before. Every muscle in Rex's body was rigid, coiled like a spring, ready to explode. The airport staff, officers, and passengers collectively stepped back, as if instinctively recognizing the danger radiating from the dog's stance. "Rex, easy," Daniel murmured again, inching closer. But Rex didn't budge. His eyes were wide, pupils narrowed, fixed on something within the suitcase that no human could see. Officer Ramirez swallowed hard. "He's getting worse. We need to pull him back before he hurts himself." Daniel shook his head. "If we force him off, we might trigger whatever he's trying to stop. Look at his posture. He's not attacking for the sake of attacking, he's holding it down." Carter crouched, studying Rex's trembling front legs. "You're right. He's bracing the suitcase, keeping it from moving." That single observation tightened something in Daniel's chest. Rex always protected, always shielded. If he was trying to stop the suitcase from shifting even an inch— "What is inside this thing?" Ramirez whispered. Rex suddenly snarled louder than before, startling everyone. His entire body jerked as though responding to movement inside the suitcase. The hair on his back shot up. His claws scraped a sharp screech into the metal surface beneath him. Passengers gasped. A woman covered her mouth. A man grabbed his daughter's hand, pulling her behind him. "Did something move in there?" Carter asked, his voice cracking. Daniel didn't know. He didn't want to know. But something about Rex's reaction felt less like threat detection and more like protective instinct, the kind he displayed only when a life was at stake. Rex suddenly jerked backward, pulling the suitcase off the conveyor belt with sheer force. The heavy bag slammed against the ground, tumbling onto its side. Officers jumped back. The crowd cried out in shock. "Control your dog!" a frightened passenger yelled. Daniel ignored the voice. His eyes stayed glued to Rex, who now stood over the fallen suitcase, front legs planted firmly on either side, body arched as if shielding the bag from every direction. "What are you trying to tell us, boy?" Daniel whispered. Rex let out a sharp, desperate bark. Not aggressive, but urgent, the kind he used during rescues when lives hung in the balance. Carter exhaled shakily. "This isn't a reaction to drugs or explosives or chemicals. This is different." Rex lowered his head again, teeth grinding against the suitcase zipper as though trying to rip it open himself. Daniel's stomach twisted. He's trying to get inside. The surrounding officers exchanged horrified glances, because if Rex, trained, disciplined, fearless Rex, was willing to break protocol, ignore commands, and risk injury just to reach whatever was inside that suitcase, Then whatever was hidden inside was far more dangerous, far more urgent, and far more shocking than anyone had imagined. Airport security finally managed to push the growing crowd back as officers scrambled to identify the owner of the gray suitcase. Alarms echoed through the terminal. Rex remained locked on the bag, guarding it like it contained something alive, something fragile, or something incredibly dangerous. A security supervisor hurried over, tablet in hand, sweat beading at his temples. "We ran the luggage tag," he announced breathlessly. "The suitcase belongs to a passenger who arrived on Flight 72 from Berlin. Name listed is Adrian Cole." Daniel straightened. "Where is he?" The supervisor scanned the room nervously. "We're tracking him now. He never picked up his bag." Carter frowned. "Who checks in a bag and doesn't collect it?" Ramirez muttered, "Someone hiding something." Moments later, 2 airport officers approached, gripping a thin, pale man between them. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes darting around like a cornered animal. "This is him," one officer said. "Found him trying to walk toward the exit." Adrian swallowed hard when he saw Rex snarling over the suitcase. His reaction wasn't fear of a dog, it was fear of recognition. Daniel stepped closer. "Is this your luggage?" Adrian hesitated. "Too long." Then he forced out, I don't know. Maybe. I can't remember." "Can't remember?" Carter scoffed. "You checked it in less than 2 hours ago." Adrian's hands trembled. "There must be a mistake. I don't know what's happening." Rex growled again, louder this time, pressing one paw firmly against the suitcase as if warning Adrian not to come any closer. The man instantly flinched and stumbled backward. Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Why are you so nervous?" "I'm not," Adrian insisted, but his voice cracked sharply. "I just don't like dogs." "Rex doesn't react like this to people who are just afraid," Daniel said quietly. "So, I'll ask you again. Is this your suitcase?" Adrian's jaw clenched. His gaze flicked from the officers to the bag and then to the exit signs overhead. A bead of sweat rolled down his cheek. Ramirez stepped nearer. "Don't even think about running." Adrian's shoulders slumped. "Okay, yes, it's mine. But I didn't put anything dangerous in it, I swear." "Then what's inside?" Daniel pressed. I don't know," Adrian whispered, eyes filling with panic. "Someone told me to check it in and walk away. Said I'd get paid." The officers exchanged horrified looks. A courier, a mule, someone being used. But used for what? Rex snarled again, ears pinned back, warning them all. Whatever the truth was, they were only scratching the surface. The moment Adrian admitted the suitcase was his, the tension in the room sharpened like a blade. Officers exchanged grim glances. Passengers, still hovering at a distance, whispered behind trembling hands. Rex refused to loosen his stance, pressing down harder on the gray suitcase as if afraid it might escape. "Take him to the screening room," Daniel ordered quietly. 2 officers gripped Adrian's arms. He didn't fight, at least not at first. But as they began walking him away, his breathing quickened, his steps became uneven, and panic flickered through his eyes. "I swear I didn't know," he cried. "They said it was just clothing. They said it was harmless." "Who is they?" Carter snapped. Adrian shook his head violently. I can't say. They'll come after me." Ramirez snorted. "Trust me, buddy. We're the least of your problems right now." Rex barked suddenly, a sharp, piercing sound that echoed through the terminal. Everyone froze. Adrian flinched so hard he nearly collapsed. Daniel looked down at Rex. The dog's eyes were locked on Adrian, not the suitcase this time. A low growl rumbled from his chest, teeth barely visible. "Why is he looking at me like that?" Adrian whispered, horror creeping into his voice. "Because he recognizes guilt," Carter muttered under his breath. Rex barked again, one paw scraping the floor as if trying to move toward Adrian, but restrained by Daniel's grip. That reaction sent another wave of unease through the officers. "Move him," Daniel ordered. "Now." The officers hurried Adrian down the hallway, past curious travelers and blinking security cameras. His voice shook as he repeated, "I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know." But no one believed him, not after seeing Rex's instincts flare so violently. Inside the private screening room, Adrian was pushed into a chair. His hands trembled uncontrollably as Carter leaned over him. "Start talking," Carter said firmly. "Who gave you the suitcase?" Adrian stared at the floor, lips trembling. "I can't. You don't understand." "Then help us understand," Daniel said, stepping inside with Rex, now calmer but still alert. Adrian's eyes flickered to the dog and filled with terror. "If I talk, they'll kill me." Daniel crossed his arms. "If you don't talk, whatever's inside that suitcase might kill someone else." Adrian's face drained of color. Outside through the glass window, Rex stared at the suitcase as if guarding the world from whatever horror slept inside, and the officers all felt the same chilling truth. Whatever they had stumbled into was far larger and far darker than a single abandoned bag. The shrill wail of an alarm echoed through the terminal as passengers were ushered farther away. Bright yellow barricades were rolled into place. The once busy baggage hall transformed into a tense, hollow chamber filled with whispers, flashing lights, and officers speaking in clipped, urgent tones. Rex remained planted over the suitcase, his body low and trembling, not with fear, but with warning. Every few seconds he emitted a deep growl, the kind Daniel had learned never to ignore. Then the heavy boots arrived. The bomb squad. 3 specialists in thick protective gear pushed through the cluster of officers. Their helmets gleamed under the airport's fluorescent lights, their posture rigid with authority. "Where's the device?" the lead technician asked. Daniel motioned toward Rex. "Right there, but Rex won't let anyone near it." The technician frowned. "Why is he biting it instead of signaling?" "That's what we're trying to figure out," Carter muttered. "This doesn't match any trained response." The bomb squad approached slowly, their steps calculated. One of them extended a handheld scanner, waving it toward the suitcase. Rex snarled immediately, snapping his head toward the device. Daniel tightened the leash. "Easy, Rex. Easy," he whispered, though his own heart hammered. The scanner beeped once, then again. "No explosive residue detected," the technician said, confusion tightening his voice. "Heat signatures are odd, though. Something inside is radiating warmth." "Warmth?" Carter repeated. "Like an electronic source?" "Maybe," the technician said, "but inconsistent. Could be biological." A collective shiver rippled through the officers. Daniel's jaw clenched. "Biological as in alive?" "We can't rule it out," the technician replied. "Whatever it is, it's not standard. We need to isolate it." Rex barked sharply, pulling everyone's attention back to him. He pressed his chest against the suitcase as if trying to shield it from the approaching equipment. "Why is he protecting it?" Ramirez whispered. "What does he sense?" The bomb squad hesitated. Their scanners hadn't flagged typical threats. Their protocols were suddenly useless. "We'll use a hydraulic clamp," the lead technician said. "Slow, controlled, minimal vibration." They wheeled over a metallic device with gripping arms. As it approached, Rex's growl deepened into a chilling, almost mournful rumble. His ears flattened. His body shook violently. Daniel knelt beside him. "Rex, buddy, talk to me. What are you feeling?" Rex didn't look at him. His gaze stayed glued to the suitcase as though the universe depended on it. The clamp lowered. A loud metallic click filled the room. Rex lunged so hard the leash nearly slipped out of Daniel's hands. His jaws clamped tighter on the suitcase, refusing to let the clamp touch it. The technician froze. "Stop!" Daniel yelled. "Everyone back off!" Rex's reaction wasn't fear, wasn't aggression. It was desperation. Something inside that suitcase was triggering a primal response no training could explain. And whatever the truth was, the bomb squad was now just as unprepared as everyone else. The bomb squad froze mid-motion, their clamps suspended inches above the suitcase as Rex's violent lunge forced everyone to retreat. Daniel tightened his grip, pulling Rex back just enough to prevent injury, but the dog strained forward with raw, panic strength. The lead technician raised a hand. "Hold. Don't touch the case again. The dog's reacting to something our instruments aren't reading." Carter exhaled shakily. "So it's not explosives?" The technician shook his head. No trace of any bomb components, no wiring, no chemical signatures, nothing that suggests a blast risk. A wave of relief moved through the room, but it didn't last, because Rex didn't relax. Not even a little. If anything, he grew worse, his body vibrating with urgency as he stared at the suitcase like something inside was trying to get out. Ramirez frowned. If it's not a bomb, then what's making him act like this? The technician checked the scanner again, eyebrows drawing closer. The heat signatures are irregular. They keep changing. It's like the contents are shifting. Daniel's chest tightened. Shifting as in moving? Possibly. The technician stepped closer, lowering his voice. But whatever it is, it's not metallic, not electronic, and not explosive. Carter rubbed his forehead. Rex acts like there's something alive in there, but the weight doesn't match an animal, and there's no sound. Unless whatever's inside has been sedated, Ramirez whispered. That suggestion made the room go still. Daniel knelt beside Rex, running a steady hand over his trembling back. "Partner, what are you trying to tell me?" Rex's eyes flicked to Daniel for a brief, heartbreaking second, filled with fear, not for himself, for someone else. Daniel's breath caught. In all the years he'd known Rex, he had never seen that look. The bomb squad regrouped, speaking quietly among themselves. The lead technician finally turned. "If it's not a bomb, we need to open the suitcase, but slowly, carefully, and the dog needs to be restrained." Rex growled the moment the technician stepped forward. Daniel shook his head. "No, if we force him back, he'll hurt himself. We open it his way, slow, steady, without sudden tools." The technician hesitated. "This breaks protocol." Daniel nodded. "So does a dog biting a suitcase for 10 straight minutes." Silence settled over the room. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. The threat wasn't explosive, wasn't chemical, wasn't mechanical, which meant the unknown was far worse. Whatever lay inside that suitcase was something no scanner could read. But Rex instinctively, desperately, understood. A heavy silence fell over the terminal, the kind that made every heartbeat feel too loud. Officers stood in a tight semicircle, bomb squad waiting at the edges, passengers watching from behind barricades with wide, fearful eyes. And at the center of it all, Rex still hunched over the gray suitcase as if it were the most dangerous object he had ever encountered. Daniel exhaled slowly. "We do this carefully. No drills, no cutting tools, no sudden movements." The bomb squad technician hesitated. "And how do you expect us to open it without tools?" "Manually," Daniel said, dropping to one knee. "I'll do it." A ripple of protest moved through the officers. "Daniel, you can't. That's insane. What if something detonates?" He raised a hand, silencing them. If it were going to explode, Rex wouldn't be guarding it like this. He's not trying to pull it away. He's trying to keep it still. Whatever's inside, it's reacting to movement. The bomb squad exchanged glances. It was unorthodox, dangerously so. But Rex's behavior was their only clue, and ignoring it would be more reckless. The lead technician stepped forward reluctantly. "Fine, but we do this slowly, one zipper at a time. Any unexpected movement, "We stop." Daniel nodded. With trembling hands, he reached toward Rex. "Buddy, I need to open it. You have to let me get there." Rex's growl softened. His head tilted, eyes filled with something raw. Fear, urgency, a desperate plea for Daniel to be careful. Slowly, very slowly, he loosened his grip on the suitcase, though he kept one paw planted firmly on the side as if giving permission, but not trust. Daniel positioned himself near the zipper. His fingers hovered over it for a moment. He drew in a deep breath. Okay, opening. The zipper's first click sounded like a gunshot in the silence. Officers flinched. Passengers gasped from afar. The bomb squad tensed, hands hovering over protective gear. Rex growled low, his nose pressed against the suitcase as if monitoring whatever stirred inside. Daniel continued, inch by inch. Click, click, click. The zipper reached the halfway mark. The suitcase suddenly twitched. Everyone jumped back except Rex, who lunged forward, pinning the suitcase harder with both paws. Daniel froze. Something moved. Something definitely moved. The bomb technician swallowed. Could be compressed air escaping. Could be pressure shifting. Could be. "It's not pressure," Daniel said. "That was a pull from inside." Another zipper sound, slow and cautious. Daniel opened the suitcase the final few inches, then gently peeled back the lid. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. Rex's growl turned into a sharp bark. Warning, urgent, almost panicked. The officers leaned in. Inside the suitcase was a tightly packed layer of clothing strapped down with elastic bands. Harmless at first glance, but the heat signature came from beneath. Daniel reached carefully, lifting the top layer. The sight underneath made his breath catch. More layers, fabric, sealed pouches, an insulated sheet, all meticulously arranged to hide whatever was at the bottom. This wasn't casual packing. This was deliberate, professional. Someone had gone to extreme lengths to conceal something, or someone. Ramirez whispered, "Why hide it like this?" "Because they didn't want scanners picking it up," Carter replied. Rex whined, pressing closer. Daniel carefully lifted the final layer, another thick insulated cloth, and revealed a metallic compartment built into the bottom of the suitcase. Custom-made, hidden, illegal. The metal surface pulsed faintly with warmth. Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper. "This isn't standard luggage. Someone modified this suitcase for smuggling." The technician leaned closer, eyes widening. "This is engineered. Professionally engineered. Whatever's inside that compartment wasn't meant to be found." Rex pawed at the compartment, barking sharply. Daniel braced himself. Whatever they were about to open next was the real secret. The reason Rex had nearly torn the suitcase apart. Daniel's fingers hovered over the edge of the hidden metal compartment, the cold surface humming faintly beneath his touch. Rex pressed closer, tail stiff, ears pinned flat. His entire body quivered, not from aggression, but from dread. It sent a chill crawling up Daniel's spine. "Opening compartment now," Daniel whispered. The bomb squad nodded silently, forming a tight perimeter. Officers stepped closer, hands resting on holsters. The terminal, once filled with chatter and rolling suitcases, now felt like a vacuum, every sound swallowed by tension. Daniel released the small latch. A soft click echoed unnervingly loud. Slowly, he lifted the lid. The officers leaned in. Passengers held their breath from across the barricades. Even the bomb squad tensed. And then the truth revealed itself. Inside the compartment, rows upon rows of sealed envelopes stacked neatly like files. Beneath them, bundles of forged identification cards. Dozens of passports from different countries. Credit cards labeled under names that didn't exist. Microchips glinting beneath thin layers of plastic. Carter exhaled sharply. Identity documents. Hundreds of them. Ramirez lifted one of the passports. These look real, too real. Daniel carefully examined an envelope, its contents shocking him further. These are immigration records, he muttered. Fake ones. The bomb squad technician frowned deeply. This isn't smuggling contraband. This is orchestrating identities. This is a trafficking operation, Carter whispered. A massive one. But there was more. Daniel lifted another section of the compartment and froze. Below the documents, packed tightly together, were rectangular scent pads, each sealed in airtight plastic. They were soaked with something, the faint smell sharp and distinct even through the layers. The technician blinked. Are those human scent pads? Daniel nodded slowly. He used to fool biometric sensors. Dogs detect human scent. So traffickers soak pads with sweat. He swallowed. These pads help people cross borders undetected. They use them to mimic someone else's scent. Rex growled at the pads as if they personally offended him. Then Daniel noticed a bundle in the corner. Older, dirtier, wrapped differently from the rest. Carefully, he opened it. Inside was a small plastic case labeled with a name, a familiar name. His heart stopped. John Hale. Ramirez looked over. That name means something to you? Daniel's voice grew tight. He was a K-9 handler, one of the best. He went missing 5 years ago while investigating an identity scam involving airport networks. Daniel lifted the case. This is his field evidence kit. Rex barked sharply, startling everyone. His growl deepened, his gaze locked onto the kit as though it held a ghost. Carter's face paled. You're saying this ring, this suitcase, was tied to his disappearance? Daniel didn't answer. He couldn't. He opened the kit. Inside was a flash drive, worn and scratched, a blood-stained glove, and an old ID badge from John's final assignment. Carter whispered, Oh, God. Daniel felt the room spinning around him. Rex pressed his head against Daniel's knee, comforting him, or bracing him. This isn't just identity theft, Daniel said quietly. This is an international trafficking network. They used stolen documents, forged passports, and scent pads to move people, dangerous people, across borders. Ramirez exhaled shakily, and they killed a K-9 handler to protect it. Rex pawed at the metal compartment again, whining, urging Daniel to look deeper, because even with everything they'd found, this suitcase still wasn't done revealing its horrors. Just when the officers thought the suitcase had given up all its secrets, Rex let out a sudden, sharp bark that sliced through the room like a blade. His body stiffened, ears springing upward, eyes locked on the metal compartment's floor as if something beneath it was calling to him. Daniel froze. There's more. Rex pawed urgently at the metal base, scratching with frantic precision. He wasn't guessing. He knew. Ramirez stepped closer. We already emptied it. What else could be inside? Carter knelt beside the compartment, running his hand along the bottom. His fingers paused. There's a ridge here, a seam. Daniel's pulse quickened. A false bottom. The bomb squad technician hurried over, shining a flashlight along the inside walls. Impossible. We checked the structure. Well, check again, Carter snapped. The dog says it's there. Rex barked again, more forcefully this time. His growl rose, not hostile, but distressed, almost pleading. The sound tightened Daniel's throat. Easy, boy, he whispered. We'll open it. The technician located two nearly invisible latches tucked beneath the metal lining. Everyone leaned closer as he flipped them open with trembling hands. A soft, metallic pop echoed. Then the floor of the compartment lifted, revealing an even deeper cavity no scanner had detected. Gasps exploded around the room. Inside this second layer was a small bundle wrapped in a black cloth, old, worn, and unmistakably personal. Not part of a trafficking operation, not a forged document. Something different, something human. Daniel reached in cautiously. Rex whined louder, nudging his arm as if urging him to hurry. Daniel unwrapped the cloth. His breath caught. Inside was a leather notebook, cracked, weathered, and covered in faded fingerprints. Tucked beneath it was a silver dog tag, tarnished and bent, and beneath that, a photograph. A man in uniform smiling, standing next to a German shepherd. Carter whispered, "Is that John Hale?" Daniel nodded slowly, his chest tightening. "It's him. That's his old partner, Shadow." Rex sniffed the items, then whimpered a heartbreaking, trembling sound. He pressed his head against the notebook as though recognizing the scent of a ghost. Ramirez shook his head in disbelief. So the traffickers didn't just take John's evidence, they took his personal belongings too. Daniel flipped open the notebook. Inside were the handwritten notes, names, dates, locations, records of his final investigation. The last entry was stained, the ink smudged. "I'm close, too close. If something happens to me, follow the dog." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Follow the dog." Carter repeated it in a whisper. John knew. He knew they'd come for him. Rex pawed at the photograph, whimpering again. He wasn't reacting to fear now, but recognition. The scent pads, the evidence kit, the photograph. It all pointed to one truth. This suitcase wasn't just part of a crime ring. It was a message, a warning, a grave, and Rex, guided by instincts stronger than training, had led them straight to the final clue John Hale left behind. Daniel stared at the photograph, his hands trembling as the weight of what he'd uncovered pressed down on him. John Hale, one of the finest K-9 handlers the department had ever known, smiled proudly beside his partner Shadow, unaware that this picture would one day become a clue in his own disappearance. Rex sniffed the photograph again, then lifted his head toward Daniel, eyes glistening with something that felt eerily like grief. Carter exhaled shakily. "I can't believe it. All this time, we thought John vanished without a trace. But he left one. He left this." "Not just this," Daniel murmured, flipping through more pages of the worn notebook. He documented everything. Names of smugglers, routes they used, airports involved. He was closing in on something big, something dangerous enough to get him killed. Ramirez leaned closer. "Look at this page. Level 2 couriers, trained mules, scent pad diversions, false identities." He was tracking the exact operation we're staring at right now. "And then he disappeared," Carter added quietly, "because he found the center of it." Daniel paused at the final entry, written in rushed, uneven strokes. Shadow reacted. "They know I'm watching. If they come for me, someone will have to finish this. Follow the dog." Daniel's voice cracked as he whispered. Shadow tried to warn him, just like Rex is warning us now. Rex placed his paw gently on the open notebook, letting out a soft whine that stirred something deep inside Daniel, as if Rex sensed not only danger, but the ghost of a fallen K-9 handler whose last message had gone unheard. Ramirez rubbed the back of his neck. Those scent pads, they weren't just tools for the smugglers. They were training material. Shadow must have sniffed one and reacted the same way Rex did. Daniel swallowed hard. And whoever was controlling this ring realized John's dog had caught the scent trail, the same trail Rex picked up the moment that suitcase came off the belt. Carter frowned. So they silenced John, destroyed the evidence, and used the same methods to keep their network alive, until today. Daniel closed the notebook gently. John didn't fail his case. He solved it. He just didn't live long enough to expose it. Rex pressed closer to Daniel, nudging the notebook toward him, as if urging him to continue the mission John couldn't finish. The gesture hit Daniel like a blow. "This suitcase wasn't meant for random transport," Daniel said, his voice low, steady. "It was meant to move evidence, real evidence someone was trying to bury." And Rex recognized the scent because He trained under the same department John once worked in. The same tools, the same markers, the same crimes. Carter's expression hardened. This isn't just smuggling. This is a multinational identity scam, using stolen lives. Literally, stolen passports, records, biometrics, everything. And John got too close. Ramirez pointed at the dog tag in Daniel's hand. They kept it as a trophy, as a warning. Daniel shook his head. No, they kept it because they never thought anyone would reopen this case. Rex lifted his head and barked once, loud, sharp, decisive. Carter looked at Daniel. He's telling us the same thing John told his partner. Daniel nodded, emotion burning behind his eyes. Follow the dog. The room buzzed with a new kind of urgency, no longer fear of a bomb, but the weight of a criminal empire hiding in plain sight. Daniel straightened slowly, closing John Hale's notebook with a soft but decisive snap. The sound echoed like a promise. We're not dealing with a suitcase, he said quietly. We're dealing with a network. Carter nodded grimly. A network that's been running long before today. Ramirez paced, his adrenaline rising. Look at the scale of it. Passports from multiple countries. Forged IDs. Biometric scent pads. Trafficking records. This isn't just one mule or one smuggler. This is a pipeline. And Adrian? Carter glanced toward the interrogation room. He's not even a criminal. He's a pawn. Daniel rubbed his temple. He was given the bag without knowing what was inside. Classic courier technique. They recruit desperate people with promises of money, use them once, then throw them away. The bomb squad technician, now standing beside them, shook his head in disbelief. They engineered a suitcase to hide a double compartment. Do you know how advanced that is? This isn't street crime. This is corporate-level engineering. Rex barked sharply, as if urging them to move faster. Daniel knelt beside him. You're right, boy. We don't have time. Carter turned back toward the evidence spread across the table. We need to search everything, every passport, every chip. Someone in here connects to the leader. Ramirez already had gloves on. Agreed. And we cross-referenced the names in John's notebook with Interpol, Homeland Security, airport logs, everything. Daniel lifted the flash drive from John's evidence kit. This might be the key. If John uploaded anything before he disappeared, this drive will show it. The bomb squad technician produced a secure laptop. Plug it in. Let's see what's worth killing over. Daniel hesitated for a moment, half expecting the drive to be empty, corrupted, erased. But when he inserted it, a folder popped up instantly. One single document titled, Master Route, Do Not Lose. Ramirez's breath hitched. He mapped their entire operation. Daniel opened it. The file displayed a complex network of airports, names, account numbers, flight paths, and coded drop-off points. Each line connected to the next like veins of a living organism. The trafficking ring wasn't random. It was systematic, coordinated across borders, supported by forged identities, manipulated biometrics, and compromised officials. Carter muttered, This is enough to dismantle the whole network. Daniel's voice hardened. Then that's exactly what we'll do. Rex nudged his leg, as if reminding him of the bigger picture, the fallen handler whose last wish was carved into a notebook page. Follow the dog. Daniel stood tall. John Hale didn't die for nothing. He led us straight to the truth. Carter tapped a radio. Dispatch. Patch us through to federal authorities. We have a major trafficking ring operating through international airports. Prepare for multiple coordinated raids. And put out an alert for anyone connected to Adrian's handlers. Ramirez added. They're going to run. Rex barked again, short, sharp, victorious. The impossible puzzle had finally begun to unravel, and thanks to Rex, John Hale's unfinished mission was seconds away from exploding into the light. The terminal slowly returned to life, voices rising, footsteps echoing, officers clearing caution tape. But for Daniel, everything felt strangely distant. The world moved, yet he stood anchored beside Rex, staring at the open suitcase that had changed everything. It wasn't just evidence now. It was a grave marker, a message from a fallen handler, and the final key to a case buried for years. Federal agents arrived within minutes, sweeping through the terminal like a storm. Their presence was heavy, urgent, decisive. They gathered the forged passports, the scent pads, the altered suitcase, and John Hale's notebook, each piece now part of a criminal empire about to crumble. Carter stepped beside Daniel. HQ confirmed it. Raids are already underway in 4 cities, airports, warehouses, even private residences connected to the smugglers. Ramirez added, Homeland Security wants to commend the K-9 unit for the discovery. They said this case would have stayed buried without Rex. Daniel looked down at his partner. Rex sat calmly now, but his eyes were still alert, intelligent, watching every movement. He had been fierce moments ago, fighting the suitcase like it contained a ticking bomb. Now he sat in quiet dignity, as if he understood the magnitude of what he had just accomplished. A federal agent approached with a clipboard. We'll need to take the flash drive and notebook for analysis, but we'll send copies to your department. He paused, then added, The notes match missing case files from Hale's investigation. You've just reopened a federal cold case. Daniel nodded, though part of him still felt a lingering ache. John deserved justice a long time ago, and he's getting it, Carter said gently, because Rex refused to let this die. The interrogation room door opened, and officers escorted Adrian past them. His face was pale, eyes hollow, not with guilt, but with fear. Fear of the people who had used him as a pawn. He's cooperating, Ramirez said. He didn't know anything. He was desperate, broke, easy to recruit, but he gave us names, locations, everything he knew. Carter crossed her arms. This whole operation falls apart today. Daniel exhaled. Good. Let it. A supervisor approached with a rare smile. K-9 Rex is being recommended for a commendation. Medal of Valor. Daniel chuckled softly. He deserves more than a medal. Rex wagged his tail once, sensing the shift in the room's energy. A federal agent, observing Rex thoughtfully, finally asked, How did he know? All our sensors missed it. Daniel placed a hand on Rex's back. Because sometimes technology can't smell danger, but a good dog can. The agent nodded, humbled. As officers packed up the final pieces of evidence, Daniel gently lifted John Hale's dog tag from the table. He held it for a long moment, then looked at Rex. You finished his mission, he whispered. You brought the truth home. Rex pressed his head against Daniel's hand, a quiet gesture of loyalty, one handler to another. And as agents escorted the last suspects out of the terminal, sirens echoing in the distance, Daniel realized something. Heroes didn't always arrive with badges or guns. Sometimes they arrived on 4 legs, teeth bared, refusing to let the truth stay buried. Rex had followed the scent of justice, and today he led them all to victory. This story reminds us that true heroes don't always wear uniforms or stand in the spotlight. Sometimes they walk beside us quietly, trusting their instincts even when the world doubts them. Rex showed that courage isn't loud. It's the determination to protect others, even at great personal risk. His unwavering loyalty uncovered a truth hidden behind lies, proving that doing the right thing can change more lives than we ever realize. It also teaches us that justice is not always immediate. Sometimes it takes time, teamwork, and the bravery of those who refuse to ignore the signs. Whether we're humans or animals, every one of us has a purpose. And sometimes that purpose is to help someone who can't help themselves. If this story touched your heart, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to the world.